Here's interest rates. When you look at this, if you look at the bottom right, all the way to the right where it says biggest jump since 1980s, we went from roughly, I want to say, the roughly 2.6%, 2.8%, the lowest interest rate, went up to 5.75. A few things you need to know when you're looking at this chart here. If you can see the mouse while I'm moving it, let me know if you can see the mouse or not on your end. Can you see it? Okay, so it went down to 2.6, 2.8. Right now it's 5.7%. But let's go back to roughly 2000. Do you know from 2003 all the way to 1970, rates were never less than 7%. Let me say this one more time. Rates are today 5.7%. People are panicking. But from 1970 till 2003, rates were never once less than 7%. That was a number we were accustomed to. Now, if you look at between 1970, which is at 7.5%, to 2003, let's see what were some of the highs. It hit around 9% in 2000, 9.5% in 1995. We reached 10% in 1992. Folks, that was only 30 years ago. Let me say this one more time. Only 30 years ago, rates for a 30-year fixed were 10%. And by the way, the 10% lasted roughly 14 years, which means from 1978 or so till about 1992, 14-year period, rates were never less than 10%. This is purely history we're looking at. And during the Jimmy Carter era, right here, do you see the peak here? It's going to show you right now what the highs were. 1981, we saw 30-year mortgage rates reach historical peak of 18.5%. Okay, that's data. And again, the closest case study to Joe Biden is Jimmy Carter, 18.5%. December 2020, mortgage rates hit the lowest in history that we've ever had, 2.68%, which means money was pretty much free. People were buying $1 million homes that they would have typically only bought a $500,000 home. People buying $2 million home that could have typically only afforded an $800,000 home, $1 million home, because money was so cheap. So now, 3 ways higher federal interest rates affect your money. Number one, Fed rate increases affect the stock market. That's one. People tend to sell stocks for safer investments. Number two, credit card interest becomes more expensive. You'll start seeing we have increased. If you haven't already gotten the letters, they'll tell you your interest rate has increased from 14.9% to officially 17.2%. You'll hear getting those letters continuously. And then mortgage and loan becomes more expensive, okay? And by the way, when that happens, car payments, mortgage payments, in every possible way, payments go higher. We're going to talk about what new record we just broke on car payments, but hang tight. So now, inflation so far this year, highest jump since the 1980s, okay? Just December of 2020, which is not a long time ago, by the way. December of 2020 is roughly a year and a half ago, 19 months ago. Inflation was 1.4%. Let me say this one more time to you. Inflation in December of 2020 was roughly 1.4%. The month Putin attacked Ukraine, inflation was 7.5%, which means without the attack to Ukraine, rates reached 7.5%. Today, they're at 9.1%. Fed just announced today and yesterday that they may increase it an entire point here soon. So that means it could go up even more. Imagine what that's going to do if they increase the interest rates. What is that going to do to inflation? They're all, intertwined together. So this is what we're looking at. Now, if you look at inflation right there at 9.1%, what's the highest we reached? If you go back again, case study, Jimmy Carter era, what's that number? A little over 13%. Again, this is from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, this data I'm giving you, right? So for people to say, oh, inflation, it's not going to go up, everybody, Janet Yellen, it's just transitory. Everybody kept telling you and I, just transitory, until eventually last month, Janet Yellen finally apologized on TV, and she said, this is the former chairwoman of the Federal Reserve, now is the Treasury. She said, well, I made a mistake, I was wrong. Let me say this to you again. The people we trusted, who was the former chair, you tell me who has more experience on her resume. It says former chair of the Federal Reserve. and then White House assigns her next job to control the economy, and she got that wrong. We have to be aware of that on what just happened. So they're now saying, well, this ain't going away anytime soon. But watch what some of the experts, one of Obama's advisors, watch what he is saying about inflation. So now we've seen these numbers already. I kind of gave it to you, but we have it on the side as well. This is what I want you to be thinking about on the similarities between inflation and 30-year fixed rates. Isn't this interesting? What do you notice if you look at these two? Do you notice if inflation goes up, rates go up? Do you notice if rates go down, inflation goes down? Do you notice if inflation goes down, rates go down? Do you see the similarity? There is a correlation between these two. And FYI, wait till you see another correlation with the S&P 500. Again, this is data. We're doing research to see if we're going to learn anything to be able to predict. Okay, you got Elon Musk says the 3 Ps: predict, prepare, persevere. We right now, our job, my job as an entrepreneur, businessman, content creator, CEO, family, leader of my family, is to make predictions. Babe, here's what I predict is going to happen to the economy. This is what we ought to do with our money. Gang, this is what I predict is going to happen based on the research that we've done. It looks like this is going to happen. Folks, you tell your C-suites or your sales leaders or your company, here's how we got to prepare for this. And the key is to persevere during these times. That's Elon Musk, guy that's worth 240, saying this.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.